So, we're watching the finale of Drag Race Down Under. We all know Scarlet is going to win. And let's not kid ourselves, this is what would have happened in the minds of many viewers if she did. Scarlet, you're a winner, baby.
It's a core memory.
But it's blue.
This is because Scarlett Adams had a history of blackface, and she's not the only queen this season to be accused of it. Art Simone has done blackface. Here she is claiming that she was just in a suntan. Look at those exaggerated ethnic features. She's making a mockery out of darker skinned people by painting herself this way. Pay no attention to the raw photo though. Now let's take a look at Scarlett Adams' blackface. Oh, well, the look isn't the problem. Apart from the eyebrows, she looks like a human being, which cannot be said of blackface of crude makeup job simplified to the barest details. Now, I do have dark skin and I do have huge lips, but I don't look like frickin' Nightcrawler! You can't capture all this glamour with just one tone of brown and that fuller lip illusion that drag queens do to impersonate conventionally attractive women. And then there's the brass coils. That's totally appropriation. It has cultural significance. Not to be confused, of course, with the cultural and religious significance of nose rings, which you'll find on countless campus girls across the West. At least in Myanmar, these coils started as a way to stave off kidnapping and grew into a symbol of wealth and status. But they also serve to reinforce their constructed female beauty standards of a long neck, and can be painful. You see, gender isn't just a construct, it's an aspect of culture. And we find men and women arbitrarily differentiating themselves across eras, across the planet, in all kinds of different and sometimes subtle ways. It happens wherever it can, and happens more often than not. It's easily adopted and catches on like wildfire compared to other constructs. You know how drag often offends the sensibilities of cultural conservatives on the right? Well, this image offends cultural conservatives on the left and the right. It's a disgusting display that tears at all decency as we know it. This is what real violence looks like. Ilona Verley seems to be under the impression that Scarlett Adams broke into her house and stole this outfit from her closet or something because she thinks she owns it, and that it's a unilaterally offensive display to indigenous people to boot. But what's funny is that JoJo Zaho would be burned alive if she had been white and wore this horrendous costume. It is the most disgusting, fetishized native piece I have seen in my life, and nobody forced her to put it on. This whole season has had a fraught relationship with race in some viewers' eyes. I'm not going to use the word but. Your land was taken and your culture was practically wiped off the planet. It's a global tragedy, and it's wrong. And you need to get over it. Obsessing over ethnic identity and the good old days, whatever exactly those were, that's a toxic mindset that never leads anywhere good. Now, obviously, I am not the person to tell you how best to honor your culture and your ancestors. That's up to you, and that's up to who you choose to listen to. Personally, I don't think fighting for the integrity of feathers on social media is the way to do that, but to each their own. So in episode 1, JoJo goes home. In episode 2, Snatch Game happens way too early, Art Simone misfires with her Bindi Irwin, and gets put up for elimination with Coco Jumbo, who served that Ursula look without admitting it was an Ursula look. Like, oh my god, can't a big beautiful woman wear a glad hefty trash bag and white hair and a punky updo without being compared to Ursula? Coco wins the lip sync and Art goes home. Disappointing because I could tell Art's looks were going to be great, and this wouldn't be the first winner to have underwhelmed or flopped their Snatch Game. Looking at you, Evie and Priyanka. Episode 3, Coco's in the bottom 2 again and goes home. Maybe she could have had another week to make a comeback. Episode 4, Art Simone is brought back out of the blue without earning her way back in. She's just given a second chance. Well, I was most excited to see her looks, but that's unprecedented. But, uh-oh, that means the only missing contestants are the 2 contestants of color. Well, it's a statistical possibility that something like this happens on a season. It's not like it can never happen. Oh well. Episode 5, Scarlett Adams reveals on camera her history of race bending and cultural fashion bending in addition to the gender bending they all do and profit off of. Remember, gender is an aspect of culture. There are cis women and queer people who find drag queens appropriating and disrespectful of femininity. Again, I'd have to see the full performance for context, but from what little I see, I just don't think Scarlett Adams is necessarily any worse at portraying a sane, rational black person than the vixen is. Here's a written apology of Scarlett's put out alongside a video apology. You don't have to accept it. But if there's no way to earn your forgiveness other than for her to not have ever done it, then you're someone who's incapable of forgiving someone else for what is ultimately a non-violent act that can only be considered offensive due to the immutable factor of their genes. And if that's the case, why should anyone care that you're hurt? Especially if there's no win condition for your forgiveness, and the crime in question isn't a crime. So Kitamine wins the season, a well-rounded, polished queen who would have made a fine winner if she had gotten like one more win somewhere along the way, but the production of this season was kind of a mess. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna pretend the storylines weren't messy or that certain queens like Karen didn't have an immunity shield. Ugh, this girl should not have been in the final. But this video is largely about addressing the Blackface Scarlet Adams scandal from the perspective of one black person. I wouldn't claim to speak for everyone, just as I don't want them speaking for me. From my perspective, a lot of what I've seen today that gets called blackface is frankly just race bending. And it can be tacky, but a lot of times I find it interesting and artistic, whichever way it goes. And it's funny to hear how the same people who say race is a construct, gender is a construct, sexual categorization is arbitrary, will play with gender like it's silly putty, but segregate till the cows come home with the other arbitrary cultural constructs being considered sacramount. The concept of cultural appropriation creates rigid boundaries where, ironically, one's DNA or the borders they were born within will determine what they can wear, two transparently anti-left conditions. At the end of the day, these are people that feel like they have no power, and they probably feel like calling out and stigmatizing race bending will give them some power. And honestly, they probably kept Scarlet from winning the season, so the powerless are not as powerless as they want you to believe. But thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a like or dislike if you disagreed with me. Let's open a dialogue. If you didn't like any of the points I'm making, let's hash it out. I'm tempted to do a weekly review of All Stars 6 when that comes out because I really like the cast. Subscribe and hit the bell if you're interested in seeing that. I'll simultaneously be uploading my usual cultural reactions. But yeah, if you made it to the end of this video without destroying your laptop or your phone, I congratulate you. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.